Welcome to the Own Your Best Life podcast. I'm May Emson, your host, leadership and mindset coach. Here, we talk all things spiritual, mindset, business, leadership, and wellness for the modern seeker who wants to align their life with purpose and inspiration. We'll cover career changes, stress management, meditation, energy, intuition, and more. Each episode holds spiritual and practical tools to help you live a life of your wildest dreams without getting burnt out along the way. Ready to live a life on your own terms? This is the Own Your Best Life podcast. Welcome, friends, to episode number 27 of the Own Your Best Life podcast. When we begin to learn how to trust ourselves and live into who we are, we often begin to wonder if that inner voice inside us is actually helping us or hurting us. Is that my ego talking, or is that my soul's desire? How do we know the difference between being reckless versus expanding into our next level? And we're going to go there today so that we can leave feeling more inspired and trusting of the inner voice and guide. So I've always been a fairly safe person. Maybe it was due to being raised in an Asian American household where I was first generation, or maybe it was due to me just not wanting to rock the boat. Either way, there was a people pleaser inside me that was very good at regulating my desires. Can you relate? I have just never been that person who lost complete control or did something extremely foolish. And that's why when I started upending my life on my search for greater meaning and purpose, part of my journey included letting go of some of that control. And why was that? Why did I want to do that? So that I could listen to what I desired, my intuition, and that feeling of knowing that I was making a decision that may not be entirely safe, but was my own. And in that process, I had to ask myself that very question about the ideas that started to take shape in my mind. Can I really trust this desire? If I wanted to buy nicer clothes, for example, I could always rationalize in a million different ways why I didn't need them. Am I buying these things because I'm just trying to satisfy my ego? Or do I need external validation? Did I want to be looked at in a certain way or to be thought of as worthy? And in all of these behaviors, whether it's how we shop, what we eat, who we marry, where we live, and where we work or study, there's an aspect of ego as well as desire. And how do they end up commingling peacefully instead of us running back and forth from one end of the spectrum to another? Similarly, if you've ever been disappointed in the past, raise your hand if that's you, or you've ever doubted yourself, you might completely pull yourself out of this game that you're playing in. Whatever it is that you're engaging in, you just pull yourself out so that you don't have to feel rejection or failure. You're almost anti something or another more than you are something or another. And you rebel and you want to give it all up. And is this the desire to give it all up better for you? Should you keep going, or are you just overriding your desires? These are very common questions. And many times when I coach those who are overwhelmed and burnt out, they wonder if they can run away somewhere where they could just escape the rat race. They don't always verbalize it. Sometimes they do, but I know it's going through their heads. I've always wondered the same thing when I've had any particularly difficult human situation. The desire to just give it all up. And what I've realized, however, is that we are human beings for a reason, here to have a human experience full of that duality of ego and desire, of pain and pleasure. So what is ego? Well, ego has a sense of self-identity and wants status, recognition, and prestige. And the desire wants meaning, purpose, contribution, fulfillment. Neither one is wrong per se, so how then do we marry the two together? So the answer is not as simple as saying, follow your heart's desires always. Why not, you might ask? All the things I've ever heard tell me that my heart is never wrong, right? Is this something that you're thinking right now? Well, this may be true, but the catch is, and this is why you're listening to this, because you've had the same question, you don't really trust that. And many of us don't trust this because we are not as well connected to our hearts as we may believe we are or as we desire to be. So this is the critical part. We're still in our heads thinking about the worthiness of ourselves, how to mitigate fear, how can we stay safe, and how to stop people from judging us. What you really have to understand is that the heart is the entryway to your soul. And if you begin to ask questions about that thing you desire, you have to step in through the door of your soul and begin to enter all these different rooms within your soul. You have to see, why are you desiring this now? Why at this point in your life? What does it signify? What does it mean? And how does it serve you on your path? Your spiritual and psychological evolution is a process, one where you can learn from experiences so that you know what it means to feel connected, disappointed, inspired, and loved. And even though it's a process, you can make that shift in an instant, as long as you realize that when you're asking your soul about buying the nicer clothes, and your soul, he or she's going to tell you, you know it's not about the clothes. It's about what the clothes mean to you. When you know how the clothes, the thing that you're desiring, are connected to your inner self through meaning, you'll understand if the clothes are a Band-Aid, one that will never soothe the pain permanently, or if the clothes are just that next layer of yourself that's growing on your body, healing wounds, and maybe becoming part of who you're showing up as in the world. You may start to realize that clothes aren't necessarily really that important, but they could be really fun. And so the same thing goes for eating or living in a way that may feel indulgent. So I think many of you may relate. If you've been a people pleaser, sometimes you have a hard time indulging. You feel really guilty for doing certain kinds of things. So for example, if you're going to eat a cupcake, well, that cupcake isn't going to change your life. But if you see what it means to you to eat it, it can. Are you doing it from a place of fear? Are you eating the cupcake because you feel defeated, sad, bad, frustrated, or bored in hopes that it will make you feel better? Or are you eating the cupcake because you're learning to have a life where you enjoy more pleasures without guilt, and you've been working on having more fun? And this is the difference between knowing which thoughts to trust. To know what's truly a soul desire, not just a desire, but a soul desire. To know what's coming out of a place of fear or a place of love. What's coming from a pattern of using an outside thing to control our feelings is not a soul desire. What's coming from our inner feelings that then takes shape in our outer world is coming out of a soul desire. I hope you start to see the difference. And I know it may be easy to broad brush one single type of activity as soulless. For example, the chase for money. Or another type of activity as soulful. Think, leave your current lives and live by yourself somewhere on a mountain away from everything and contemplate the meaning of life. But it's not that simple. Anything done with fear and negative intentions can be harmful and a way for you to ignore a deeper wound. Suddenly, a vacation becomes a way to escape an unfulfilling daily life instead of addressing it and creating a daily life that is truly rich and enjoyable, and the vacation just becomes the cherry on top. And then, now that we're talking about desserts, suddenly that cake you want to eat is a sign that you have a pattern of eating when you're stressed. Or it just becomes something where I don't usually eat it, so I know I don't have a problem around it, but I'm just going to let go a little bit here because I've had a lot of times in my life where I wouldn't let myself just enjoy, and that's why I'm doing it. So anything done with a positive intention, your soul's desire, can become our inside world manifested into form outside world. Suddenly, that terrible job becomes actually really meaningful and a stepping stone to something really important, one in which this experience is going to serve you for the rest of your life. Suddenly, spending money on yourself in a different way than you have before is growth and contribution on another level. What matters more is what backs up that thought or desire. Is it backed by love and service? Can you feel that it will positively affect yourself and others? Will this be hard in the short term, but better for all in the long term? Is this part of an unhealthy pattern to change the way I feel through something external to myself? So at the end of the day, we will make a choice and see where that leads us, right? We just make the decision and go. Ultimately, we learn through our experiences. So if you're feeling something that's been tugging at your heart and you're starting to explore your soul, it's likely that this desire you have is coming from a place of self-discovery and consequentially the making of new decisions. We will often have to make new decisions in a life full of growth. We'll spend money, energy, time, resources in a new and different way than we've ever done in the past if we're looking to live life differently. This is why it often feels like a full-time job to do the inner work. You're spending time looking at the ways in which you're operating the world. You begin to question, and questioning is okay. Not only is it okay, it's recommended. When you start to look at each piece of your life and whether it belongs here on your path towards higher consciousness, towards growth, towards fulfillment and love, you'll feel like you're not just accepting things as they are, but you're making choices and creating a life. So asking yourself if this desire is truly coming from your soul is the start of you beginning to learn what it feels like to set boundaries, to trust your intuition, to know how you want to spend your time, your energy, your money. Play with it. Have fun with it. See what happens when you lean into your soul's desire more and more each day. So it may start with a single conversation that feels really difficult but necessary because you know it's been too long since you've talked to your partner about the state of your relationship and you desire to have a better one. It may also start with you deciding to take a different approach to your wellness because you desire to feel like you can be filled with energy without pumping it into your body from external means. It may start with looking at going back to school or pursuing a different career because you desire to understand how to use your gifts and to use them in this lifetime. It may start with you saying yes to something you know would move you forward on a new path. And one thing I've learned is that all our desires will be different because we each have different lessons we're learning while we're here on this planet. So stay in your own lane. Don't compare yourself to what others are desiring, but instead start to hone in on your own special sauce. Why? Because everyone else and their life is taken. So if you haven't already started, now is this time to start figuring out who you are and how to have fun along the way. It is never too late for this. No matter where you are in your life, I guarantee you someone else 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years down the line is thinking, well, I wish I started then. I wish I started then. So can you really trust your desires? Yes, when they're coming from your soul, a place of love and compassion and the energy that knows what is for your highest good and others. It doesn't mean it's always the easy thing. The desire itself may actually be really uncomfortable. Maybe it's a desire to stop seeing someone. Maybe it's a desire to stop engaging in a behavior that feels good and easy at the time, but isn't serving you. So again, desire, sometimes we mix this up with things that are just indulgent and wasteful versus realizing that this is something that is not aligned. So do this often. Ask yourself what's going on. What do you want? As many times a day as you can, and just stand back. It won't always be easy, like I said, but each alignment will bring your external world closer to your internal world. And it's as simple as listening and doing over and over again. Your soul has been waiting. The question is, are you ready to answer the call? So if you want help designing your life and uncovering your soul's desires, you'll want to join my free Design Your Day workshop. You can RSVP now to get a spot. And I'll share with you strategies and tools that I use daily to shift my mindset, change careers, and improve my health. And together we're going to start this process of designing a magical life. So you can go to mayemson.com/design your day to sign up. That's it for this week. I'll see you next time. Thanks so much for joining us this week on Own Your Best Life. Make sure to subscribe to the show on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts so that you'll never miss a show. And while you're at it, can you please rate and review on iTunes? I would so appreciate it. Share it with a friend, take a screenshot of it, and tag @MayEmson. This helps continue to get the word out. For more show notes and resources, check out www.mayemson.com. You'll have all the links to everything you heard here today. Thanks so much for listening. It's time to own your best life.